Data drought.
Yeah. Logging pod starts like a conversation. Cup of coffee with no destination. Just voices trying to understand what's happening across this land. From your stories told to the pages turned. Every question, every word supported by SheShareStudios.net.
Hello and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. As many of you may know, there are a lot of droughts affecting the United States right now. According to the latest U.S. drought monitor, 45 states currently have areas experiencing moderate drought or worse. More than 132 million Americans are living in drought-affected areas, and over half of the lower 48 states are currently experiencing drought conditions. Did you hear about that, Laura?
I did. And I had seen some pieces online and in the news about it.
Yeah, I heard about Michigan was the biggest one, and then I started to look in it deeper, and then I started to find out, wow, alrighty then.
There's more of them. Yeah.
Mhm. Now this is outside of what I have written, but the Michigan one I found interesting. That was from a pipe. Did you know that?
The water?
Water? Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember where the I think it was a husband and wife. I'm not sure, and it could have been Michigan. I didn't pay attention to where they were located, but the news person or the reporter was there at their house, and they were turning on the faucet and there was all this brown water coming out and hardly any pressure at all,
Hmm.
coming out of the faucets and stuff. And it was due to, they were just saying like the effects that it's having on their home. And it was just
Well, what had happened in Michigan, from what my understanding is that they had a pipe, and I think around, now this is just from memory, I don't have this written down, but I think it was like May 6th, that's over a month ago. May 6th, they found a crack in the pipeline.
Mhm,
And I think it was around May 10th or May 12th that it became even more so, and
mhm.
they started to have issue problems. Now, the interesting thing about this pipe is that this pipe is supposed to have a lifespan of 100 years, and apparently it was only 50 that it's cracked and busted open.
Wow. So it's not,
Yeah.
it's didn't even reach more than half of its lifespan and it's already messed up or, oh,
Right. I know. Apparently they have water towers, and this is what I don't understand. My impression was that water towers carried amount of water for the residents for like a couple of days or until something could be fixed or replaced, so that they still had something. But from what I understand from the reports, the one I seen where the officials came out, they were telling people they had to go elsewhere for water and they have to use porta potties. They were saying how much the water had went down and where it was at a certain point, and that they were gonna run out within a certain amount of time as well. So I find that interesting because you seen those water towers? And they're big up, they're all over the
yeah,
place.
yeah,
Yeah. So we have them all over here, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So, and my understanding was always that those were like a backup kind of thing, for the residents in that area.
right.
So some communities are already dealing with the real effects of those droughts. They're seeing low reservoir levels, water restrictions, increased wildfire risk, agricultural losses, and in some cases, disruption in local water systems, which is happening in Michigan. But that's because of a pipe. I'm sure there's different things in the process for a lot of other droughts, whether it be environmental, or conditional, as in, like I said, as Michigan has happened to happen. So earlier this year, residents, and here I'm going to bring up Michigan here again. Earlier
Mhm.
this year, residents in parts of Michigan were dealing with major water systems problems after a transmission main failure, forcing people to rely on emergency water distribution while repairs were made. Although that Michigan situation was caused by infrastructure failure, like I told you, the pipe, it serves as a reminder of how quickly communities can become vulnerable when their water systems are under stress. So, when we started looking, or I should say, when I started looking
Mhm.
at water consumption, other questions came to mind. So, and if many parts of the country are already dealing with drought or water stress, what happens when large water consuming facilities are proposed in those same regions? Do you know where my mind's going on that?
Yes.
I mean, it just, you know what I mean? Because there's so many states, 45 states, 132 million Americans. I mean, and when I'm thinking of water, that's because it's a hot point right now. It's a hot point, these data centers. So, looking at the states experiencing drought and then began examining the counties that have some of the most significant drought conditions from there, I began to ask a few questions. How many of those counties that are already having major droughts have data centers or might be annexed for them?
Mhm.
And if they don't currently have one, how many have proposed projects, annexations, rezonings, or planned data centers? Are you ready for some answers?
I am ready. I'm just let hit me with it.
This has been a good time drinking wine. I got water. I should have had wine. All
Something
right.
tells me I'm
So,
gonna need it, so
yeah, I might need it after this. I need to not have wine to be able to push all the buttons of the screens, but but I might need it after this. In Oregon, Wasco County, forgive my pronunciation if I do it wrong. It's the home to Google's data center, and in Dallas has experienced Dallas, I'm not sure is that the county or whatever, has experienced drought conditions while public reporting has shown that Google's facilities has become one of the city's largest water users. Okay. And Virginia, Northern Virginia, continues to be one of the most largest concentrations of data centers in the world, while much of the state has also experienced, get this, significant drought conditions and increasing concern over long term water demands.
Hmm.
In New Mexico, getting closer to you, in New Mexico, proposed large AI and digital infrastructure campuses are being planned in areas where, again, long term water availability is already an important issue for local communities. In Texas, developers have openly discussed using alternative water sources, including non-portable groundwater treated processed water because of concerns about available freshwater supplies. One report that especially caught our attention, or my attention, came from Guardian. Laura's over there like, I didn't read this stuff. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's all her. It's all blame it on her. According to their analysts, 517 517, 809 planned data centers are proposed for locations that have experienced drought or water stress. 517 of 809. d- I, that's just astounding to me.
Yeah, I can't even find the words.
I don't even understand why you would want to go to places where there is prone drought conditions. It really does boggle my mind that, I mean, the only thing that I could think of that would, and I didn't do any research on this when I say this, so don't come at me, but would be because they're drought areas, maybe the land is cheaper.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, like, they're probably scoping out land that's available and can get a deal and make promises to the city wherever it is, money, of course, and other things, but I do think that I was thinking along the same lines as you as the land, them getting a deal on the land and not really considering the effects that whichever city is already has, like, water as a precious resource for them to come in anyways and was like, kinda like, "Screw your precious resource. Our data center is
Right.
more important." And I that's what
Right?
I think too. Well, a huge part of it is because of the land, but,
Yeah, it's right up there with air,
anything to get
water,
their
air.
stuff going, right? Forget the citizens.
Right. So the report has also noted that depending on the cooling technology being used, some large data centers can consume, oh, you're gonna love this one, up to 5 million gallons of water per day. That's
Per day?
per day.
Oh, the words I wanna use are not appropriate.
Right. 5 million gallons of water per day. In areas that are already projected for droughts and already have had droughts, whether it be from global warming or just environment or conditionals like Michigan's having an engineering problem. We'll take it down to an engineering problem because it could have been something as simple as that for
Yeah.
expectations or extra stress. The interesting thing is that I did do a search on it. I didn't write it down or anything like that, but I did do a search, looked up the information as far as Michigan County where they're having water right now problems for the pipe. I was curious if there was more demand on that. And of course they did have you know, a you know, death rate and birth rates, but they were all within normal realms. So,
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure. There's not as much data out there on it as I would have liked before I started writing this. That could be changed by the time we put this on the air,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
at the point that I wrote this, there wasn't enough information to give me a conclusion on why it had happened. Now, another question I think deserves more attention is how these projects are evaluated before they're approved. Because, I mean, on our last podcast we did together, Laura, we were talked about the NDA problem.
Mhm.
And so when counties are considered annexations, rezoning, and I like that word annexations because one of the counties that's not too far from me has one of their pieces of property being annexed for a data center. And I'm like, "Annex?" Basically, you're saying they're planning on they're marking this area as interest?
Mhm.
Anyways, so considered annexation or rezoning or new data center developments are long-term water supplies being fully evaluated. And of course, these are our number one questions. Are residents being informed about projected water demand? Not when they're signing NDAs.
Mhm.
How, how much additional strain could be placed on local infrastructure during periods of drought? And if water becomes scarce, how are those decisions made? Those are questions that deserve answers. I would simply like to point out where drought conditions already exist, where large data centers projects already exist are being proposed and ask whether enough long-term planning is taking place before those projects move forward.
Mhm.
While communities are already dealing with drought, aging infrastructure, like we just discussed from Michigan, population growth, which could have been a factor, agricultural and increasing demand for water, it raises one final question, as if we didn't already have enough of them. There's just one more I'd like to point out. Where was I? Yeah. She's got one more question if she can remember where it's at. Okay,
Brain
here we
trying to
go.
protect you from the last question.
I know, right? Even if someone believes climate change is part of the equation or believes it has little to do with it, how much additional pressure could large scale data center developments place on communities that are already fighting for reliable water supplies? That's a question we think that, well, at least I think, deserves a lot more research before, you know what I mean, we mark the ground and, start leveling it for construction.
Right, right. And I think that they know and they just don't care because I feel like a lot of those corporations don't care about they just wanna get the money or whatever, and they don't really care as long as they get what it is that they want. But in the long run, those people there's people behind those corporations, and then it's gonna affect where they live eventually, right? But, like, I feel like people, in anything in the current right now, they don't really care until it affects them, but I do think that
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
and I feel like
It's
in
one
other
of
situations too that the information was presented on anything like with environmental, like, and it was still ignored. You know what I mean? Like they
Mhm.
like, okay, we're still gonna do it anyways, regardless of the effect it's gonna have on the community around it or the people around it or, the animals around it, whatever, and I think that's where you said the NDAs come along because the concerns and then us, the citizens, the people, we don't know, right? Because they can't talk.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a lot of promises, and whether they're done from a position of deceiving the community or just out of not enough evidence to support what they're trying to propose,
Mhm.
and I'm being trying to be generous on those wordings. But the biggest thing, and this is one of the things we already established in our last project when we were talking about NDAs, that basically, and I've seen a lot more videos on this too from other people, uh, you and I, the community at large, for what we use, because it's not just AI. I need to make sure I point that out. If you use social media, if you game, you do the gaming online, and, because a lot of computers now don't have the disk drive. I've got a laptop over here, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then there's the cloud, the TV, Netflix, all that kind of stuff. When it's streaming, a lot of it's run off a cloud service. So you and I, even with things like those in place, a lot of these infrastructures for these large data centers are not it's being built for. This is for larger scale infrastructures like in more, just for an example, like they're getting ready to roll out AI for trucking. Did you know that? I think Coca-Cola is doing it where the trucks are going to be driven by AI. And it's large scale, large scale businesses and stuff that these are being implemented for the storage of them. And it's not even all the time from what am I understanding? I could be wrong.
Mhm.
More people can point me out that I'm wrong because I'm usually am. I have a lot of wrong stuff I've said. This is why I try to do research to make sure that what I'm bringing to people is based on some facts and articles that have already been published. But a lot of the AI stuff right now or data centers is because it's projected business. It's not exactly business in place at this particular moment. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, because from my understanding, a lot of loans are already there's a lot of money going into it, but not as much money is being collected on the other side, like the intake. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of money going out for data centers on the projection. It's like, do you remember when we got the internet?
Yes.
Okay. And there for a while, we had like a bubble burst for the internet,
Mhm.
and because they projected a lot. And so the stock market took a big dump on that. But we still use the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I, I feel that this is here to stay. But there are other countries, And I think we've talked about China's infrastructure as far as their data centers. They have them out on the ocean. They have them in deserts. They use solar power to power them. They have put grass in the desert and have goats there now to eat the grass. So I I think that there needs to be a lot more oversight. There's the word I'm looking for. I think there's
Oversight.
need to be Yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more oversight. I think there was too much eagerness to push this out there as the new great thing, the new toy.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not just talking about AI in itself. I'm talking about where, because like we just established for clouds and the game and the storage of space for information, that's part of the problem. But again, even what the American people use is like a drop in a bucket to why these are being built. It's the expectation of them being bigger. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So at least that's what I'm seeing. I could be wrong. I could, because I can pull all this information and I could still be analyzing it not as well as I should.
Well, I think that you're on the right track and you're right about that because, it's like you said, it's the new thing right now. It's the new shiny thing right now. That
Right.
I just think, like you said, the oversight, there should be more. And maybe there is, and we don't know about it, and they just don't care, and we don't get that information or whatever. But I do think that you are on the right track on it.
Well, if you take Ohio, and I don't want to get into every name, but from my little bit of research that I have done, from my understanding, they're already doing research on the impact of data centers in communities. But here's the thing. You're doing the research now after you've already allowed them in. See,
Mhm.
I think the eagerness to supply jobs in areas has been a big push because they look at it like, hey, but the problem here in Ohio, and I don't know if it's in every state, but here in Ohio, they've given them tax breaks, where they're not paying like the tax, Ohio's going to pay that. Well, we are. We are that are living here. We're going to pay it. And it started out with just like 100,000, 200, then it went to 200,000. Now I think it's a billion something
Mhm.
where it's, you know what I mean, where we're flipping the bill for it. And so going back now and even doing the research should have been done prior to giving the approval. Because a lot of the jobs, if you're looking at it, they're in the construction. And how long is construction going to last? Couple months?
Yeah.
And so to me, the balance doesn't seem quite right. Not to mention a lot of other things. Let's just say if you've got this much money, you would think you'd have a lot more to be able to, you know what I mean, implement it a lot more where it's safer to the environment. It's not a big draw on the community, that it's actually a helpful entity inside of where they're placing them. But again, I'm not an engineer. I'm just
Yeah.
a simple American thinking, China does something.
Right.
That's and I don't even live in China. I'm again reading reports. So today's sources, if you want to know where I pull my information and want to prove me wrong, comes from US Drought Monitor, Drought.gov, current US drought conditions, The Guardian, analysis of data centers and drought affected regions. See, someone else was thinking all about it as well. Oregon Public Broadcasting, Google water use in Dalles. Maybe it's Dales. I was mispronouncing it Dallas. It's Dales, Dalles. Virginia, I want to touch my camera again here. Virginia Mercury data centers and drought restrictions. New Mexico's governor's office, Borderplex digital infrastructure campus announcement. Houston Chronicle, West Texas data centers and water plant. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye bye for now.